Serious, what's the worst thing somebody has ever done to you? Was messing around with a guy a couple months after leaving a long-term relationship, and I thought things were going really well until he gave me chlamydia and ghosted me the day before my birthday when I told him. The pain sent me to the emergency room and I spent a week and a half recovering. Makes my blood boil thinking about it. Gaslighting makes you question reality in the smallest slightest ways, which then snowballs into larger, more damaging things. Having experienced similar to what you describe, I agree. That was the hardest to reconcile. People have been sexually and physically abused forever. People are terrible, but most people aren't familiar with the invisible damage from gaslighting. Gaslighting me. My mother did it over several years as she abused me. I was 12 when it started. I literally went crazy. I'm 22 now and I deal with PTSD, nightmares, anxiety, and a whole boatload of issues, including problems with trusting any memories. For reference, I was also sexually abused and medically neglected until I almost died from infection. Being gaslighted was worse than the both of those combined. I guess my mom beating, starving, abandoning, and letting her drug addict friends sexually assault me is up there, followed closely behind by this woman I dated for 4 years who systematically broke me down and physically and verbally abused me the entire time. If any of you guys are in abusive or confusing situations, there is support out there and I can point you to resources. Hit me up whenever. When I was in my early 20s, I was randomly assaulted while walking home after a night of drinking. I have no idea who it was to this day, but I was knocked out cold and later woke up lying in a pool of my own blood. What actually hurt more is that when I woke up, I saw a couple walking by and I called out for them to help me. They laughed at me and they kept walking. I got in a very serious car accident and could have died. I called my at the time fiancée to tell her what happened and she didn't even care. She just wanted more money because I was too dumb to realize at that time that she was literally just using me. She was too stupid and irresponsible to take care of her own problems and would always manipulate and gaslight me to force me to pay for things, even if I couldn't, and she knew I couldn't. I lost a lot because of her, and she didn't even care. Yeah, there's a reason she's an ex. Probably my ex would lock me in our bedroom or bathroom when he was working and thought I was up to no good or something. A lot of emotional abuse. One night he told me the world would be a better place if I was gone. A lot more than that said, then left to go out with friends. I sat in the shower with a gun debating pulling the trigger for hours. My father ditched me on my mother's funeral. We never had a father-daughter relationship. My parents were divorced, but he showed up every now and then because somehow he was still friends with my mother and her sister. My mother got cancer and died, and at the day of the funeral I stood there with my aunts and uncles giving everybody a hand and hearing the condolences. I don't know how to decide that. And then I saw him walking into the room with a white rose and walking straight to the room where my mother's casket was. Apparently he placed the rose there and left off the emergency exit. And I never saw him again. I already didn't really like him, but that stunt made me hate him. It confirmed that he was there for my aunt. They fought the day before. He had a crush on her and she didn't like him like that, and the guy can't handle no. And he never gave a shit about me, and I will never forgive him for it. It's been 9,5 years now, and I still haven't heard a single word of him. And I hope he will rot in hell. And another sour thing he did. My mother was buried 6 days after she died, and 3 days before the funeral. It was Easter and me and my aunt were visiting another aunt and her family. My father came unannounced too and brought 2 chocolate Easter bunnies. He walked past me and told me, "You won't get any. You are already too fat," and gave the bunnies to the aunt and her daughter. And honestly, I don't give a fuck about the chocolate, but how fucking dare you say something that toxic to someone who lost her mother 3 days earlier. It still makes me angry when I think back to it all. My dad just recently said you deserve this one, talking about a raise at our work. He meant because it's been 2 years since I quit drinking and tried to kill myself, implying the 20 years of service leading up to several emotional breakdowns were me not giving my heart and soul to our company. Your dad was wrong. My dad is wrong. I think some people simply can't understand our mindsets, so they try to just tell you to man up like their shitty dads did to them. My union president found out I had a personal dispute with friend. She wanted my job and went to our boss pretending to concerned about my friend and got me demoted and a loss of about $5,000 in annual income. I know it was a setup because she moved her stuff into my office before I even found out about the demotion. I had a 16-year monogamous relationship with my ex. We had 3 children together. We moved from UK to Australia to follow her dreams of becoming a nurse and for a better life for our kids. 4 years into our life, we have steady jobs. She's a nurse and we bought a home. She starts staying out late to help her female friend who is our kid's swim teacher. Swim teacher has attempted suicide and has bipolar diagnosis. Ex spends every minute she's not working with her. On my birthday she leaves me alone and goes out to dinner with swim teacher. All the kids are in bed and I'm sat playing Red Dead Redemption 2 after making myself some food. Few days later, after they attend a concert, she reveals that they kissed and she's a lesbian now. They currently live in the house I have mortgaged. She gaslighted me for months on end, and her parents into believing she was just being a good friend. I still have panic attacks every so often. TLDR. My partner of 16 years comes out after moving to the other side of the world and made me believe it was my fault. I have been stabbed 5x shot once. Worse pain though? XGF breaking up with a text message image of her with another man's sperm on her face. Still pisses me off. TBH. Edit. To answer the questions that popped up, I am okay. I have moved on and am dating a good lady. I do struggle with emotional attachment a little bit because it's always there in the back of my head. So sometimes when I get that image notification from my I panic a little. It's stupid, but it's there. I have no idea why she did that. I thought we were happy. It was 9 days after our 1-year anniversary. I had said I love you a few weeks prior. She had said it back. It was great. I don't remember what she wrote. She was very upset when I blocked her on Facebook and blocked her on texts. I got several letters from her in the mail because we lived a few hours away from each other. I was shot in the leg by a .22. Cousin thought it would be funny when I was 8. He wanted to know what a gunshot would look like. Got lucky it didn't hit anything. I was stabbed by a student while teaching inner city. Just a pocket knife in the quad. Got lucky that it didn't go in that far. Was stabbed by a guy outside of a bar after we kicked him out for being way too sloppy. Then his girl stayed and went home with his friend. Instead of kicking the shit out of the dude, he blamed me for doing my job and jumped me when I was getting on my bike at 3 a.m. Took a hunting knife in the back, covered it up with a tattoo of a cross. I had surgery for that one and I thought I was gonna die. He missed and went really close to the shoulder and it was still really bad. Got stabbed by an ex. We were civil for like 2 years. Was over at her apartment for a Friendsgiving, making food in the kitchen, and she was bragging about how great her new BF was in bed. I replied my new GF gave great head. That set her OFF. She got me really good and the ASS sank in about 1.5 inches. Got stabbed while drunk on spring break and some guys were taking advantage of a girl. I got involved, got my ass kicked, and got stabbed. I did become like a hero on spring break though and everyone want to buy me drinks. Unfortunately I was not really able to participate because it lacerated my kidney. I had the incident, went to the hospital, got discharged, and then was pissing blood the next day. Of course the fact I was trying to still party did not help. The last stabbing was another bouncing incident. I was security at a bar escorting a guy out and he slashed at several bouncers. Caught one guy. I got a hold of his knife hand, and didn't realize he had another in his other hand, also just a pocket knife in the forearm. More of a slash than a stab tbh. 5. I'll be honest, I walk through every day waiting for it to end, but I try to be happy. I just think to myself, if I couldn't handle life then I would be dead, so I am just grateful it's not worse. Had a roommate use my laptop to download child porn while I was at work, get caught by our other roommate, and then take my laptop to the police and blame his crime on me. Spent a year and a half in and out of court under investigation before I was finally exonerated. In the meantime I was forced to find different living arrangements. Then my new home got burned to the ground and I lost everything I owned. My significant of over a year and a half ghosted me completely, only to message 4 months later to tell me she was 3 months pregnant with another man's baby and it was over between us. I got fired and lost all form of income, and my reputation was so destroyed I had complete strangers pass me on the street and call me pedophile. In the end I was forced to move several states away and back in with my parents in my mid-20s and begin to attempt to rebuild my life with the whole $34 I had to my name, so that was fun. I have a few, but I suppose context matters. Had a father pull a gun on me at the front door of his house because my girlfriend at the time's cousin told him I got the GF pregnant. I didn't. Had a knife pulled on me on the school bus in 6th grade. Now the good ones are from the spawn of Satan known as my stepmother. She's tried to kill me twice. Once she unbuckled my seatbelt, reached over, opened the door of the car while we were on the interstate and tried to push me out. I only made it because I grabbed the gear shift to stay. The second time she had a knife to my throat, and the only thing that saved me was my dad came home from work early. Of course my dad didn't believe at any time. She got a pituitary tumor which ended up disfiguring her, so I suppose a natural justice was reached. Yay. I left it out, but on top of all of this I was raising my brother's 2 kids because his ex-wife dipped out and got into drugs, so I was a free babysitter for 3 kids. Lol, I heard that you have a big heart a lot during that time, that's for sure. Honestly, all the adults were shit, but all those kids have my heart forever and I will never ever regret that part of it all. They deserve a good consistent figure in their lives. And thank you. I respect the shit out of service members and their families after this whole experience. It's not easy for anyone. Edit. Oops, I should clarify, the brother that I was raising his kids is still alive. It was a different brother that passed away from OD. My boyfriend at the time had a baby with his ex-GF, and 2 months after that he left on deployment. He didn't set up anything regarding child support with her, so he left it up to me and her to figure it out. We ended up where he sent me money to give to her each month, but it was stressful trying to reach that point, since he was on deployment. I took on his role a bit and took care of the baby part-time. It was a really weird, rough situation because I didn't feel the mother was a very responsible person. Anyways, it was a stressful mess. I did all this because I loved him and the baby so much. 2 months into him being back home from deployment, my brother unexpectedly died from an OD. My brother had PTSD and TBI from an OD accident in Afghanistan and was really struggling being back home and out of the military. I was completely heartbroken and fucked up from his passing and needed my BFS support more than ever. I hadn't actually been through anything hard yet that the BF needed to support me through, but I had done it for him the majority of our relationship. Well, that boyfriend ended up dumping me a month and a half later. I've never felt so much heartbreak and loss in my entire life. I literally felt like I could die from how badly I hurt. When I was 17, a guy cut me off at the skate park, and so naturally I was like, whoa dude, but in a pretty chill shit happens and I'm just trying to skate here kind of way. He did not react that way at all, and decided it was time to fight. Then and there, as children on scooters darted around us and other dudes surrounded us. Guy was easily in his mid-20s, covered in gang tats, and in hindsight only at the skate park to fuck with some West Side dudes and get into a fight, rob someone. As I went to put my hands up, Someone in the crowd held my hands behind my back and homie sucker punched me and kneed me in the ribs. At that point his friend let me go and they both kicked me while I was on the ground. My friends got over there and broke it up before they could do more damage. But this fuck pulled out a big knife and everyone was just like okay cool, thanks for totally ruining the entire day and vibe with your dumb gang shit. And he and his partner in crime just started grabbing random backpacks and shit before they skated away laughing. And this concluded easily the most cowardly thing anyone has ever done to me. Broke my nose and my jaw. And TBH, it was probably all just the plan. Dude who started the fight got shot and killed about 2 months later, and you know what? I don't give a fuck. The other dude is a heroin addict now, so good for him. Members of my extended family made fun of my handicapped sibling. In response, I almost got into a physical altercation with one of them, but my mom had to literally dig her nails into my skin and practically sit on top of me to stop me. Apparently, my family have been making fun of my sibling for years and decided to show how they truly felt about them at that moment. God help me if I ever see those people again. Let's call him Jeff. Adopts me when he marries my mom. I'm 4, they divorce. I'm 10, starts to beat and abuse me. At 15 I stand up for myself and get my ass beat bad at a campground. Neighbor saw and got involved physically. Police get called, turns out neighbor, Joe, has warrants. Cops don't believe me and Jeff says it was all from Joe. Take him to court, get child services involved, and to this day I don't know how, but he wins. The kicker is revealed he's not my biological father. A lot started to make sense. Cut all ties. Find out when preparing for college he's drained my savings account which my grandparents set up for me. Silver linings: I'm 31 now with a loving wife and daughter. I will never be like him. I had a friend get accused of stealing at a grocery store. Turns out one of the shift managers who accused him was actually doing the stealing, and using my friend as an excuse. Target of accusation for the missing money. They found out after he had been suspended, but there was still money coming short on one of the shifts he wasn't there for. He quit afterwards anyways because being accused of stealing doesn't make for the friendliest work environment. Doesn't even compare to the ones posted so far, but one time my friend and roommate, at the time, got us both evicted, then saddled me with about $7,000 worth of cleaning bills and bailed. The next apartment I got would only accept me if I prepaid the entire year. That was a fun experience. The one silver lining when I left my ex suddenly after 5 years kinda over the phone, I was genuinely afraid, it is what it is that I left the cat. He threw my stuff out the 2-story window and was drunkenly belligerent enough to get the cops called. I didn't press charges. Officers offered B.C. destruction of property, and he kept the cat. As awful as I still feel about leaving, how I did this post does let me know at least I got one thing right. I still miss you, Odin. Hey brother, had a similar thing happen. GF of 5 years left the house with my dog and called to break up with me over the phone on Christmas Day after she came and moved out. Had that dog for years. Pets are like your child. Lot of people don't realize how traumatic it can be. The level of entitlement and betrayal is the icing on the cake. PM me if you ever need to talk about it. How are you doing now? My wife's friend was just murdered by her husband a week ago, and it was in front of their 11-year-old daughter. My wife has been pretty upset about this. She feels most terrible for the daughter who had to witness it and called the police. She has been worried about how this will affect the daughter long term. When I was like 12-13, my best friend was killed by a drunk driver. Guy was on the clock driving a dump truck to a construction site at like quadruple the legal limit. T-boned my friend's dad's car and killed my friend. His dad lived through it and ended up taking his own life about 10 years later after the guilt of surviving ate him up. The driver got 18 months and returned to work upon release. The penalties for taking a life while driving impaired are a joke. I'm really sorry this happened to you. I can't imagine what you've been through.